Rabbi Al Lewis served as the rabbi of Temple Beth Shalom in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, from 1948 until he retired in 1992. Mitch Albom recounts in his book, Have a Little Faith, about how when Rabbi Lewis, his childhood rabbi, approached him to offer a eulogy at his funeral, he thought that Rabbi Lewis was going to die soon. Rabbi Lewis continued to live for 9 more years. He remembers that funeral, and before he, a published author, gave a eulogy, Rabbi Lewis insisted on giving his own. He recorded his own eulogy for his funeral. A full sanctuary gathered to mourn the loss of their longtime spiritual leader, and Rabbi Lewis's grandson climbed the steps of the bima and placed a boombox on the lectern before popping open the small door, putting in a cassette tape, and pressing play. Amplified over the speakers was the rabbi's recorded sing-songy voice. He joked, "For my entire career, everyone always asked me, what happens when you die? Well, now I know, but I can tell you." Peter Jacobowitz died before coming back to life. Playing in a beer league hockey game in Beaverton, Oregon last winter, he grabbed his chest and collapsed on the floor, on the ice, going into cardiac arrest. A heart attack so extreme that it's often referred to as the Widowmaker. There was no movement, no heartbeat, no breathing. A player on the other team performed CPR until he was rushed via ambulance to the ICU at the local hospital, where he remained unconscious. When he finally awoke, with tubes in him, he had no memory of what happened. In his writings, he calls this his forgotten death. He had no memories of what happened to him, no knowledge of his lost time. The Winterhawks Skating Center had a video surveillance system put in. And days after he was finally released from the hospital, he returned to the arena to watch footage of his temporary death. He was shocked and confused that time passed without knowing what had happened. But even more shocked, he realized that he had no firsthand knowledge of what happened when he, even temporarily, died. There was no white light, he said, no world to come, no conversation with God, no reunification with his ancestors. And as grateful as he was to be alive, he continued to wonder if anything actually happens when you die. We ask that question as we struggle with our own mortality. But I think we ask that question not because we want to know what happens to us once we leave this world. Rather, because while we're living, we want to know what has happened to our loved ones. The answer is we don't know. We have our beliefs. We have our opinions. Even in rabbinic tradition, there's much debate about what happens when we die. But the answer is that reality is less important than what we believe. Because it's ultimately our beliefs that bring us comfort as we fear our own mortality. And it's our beliefs that bring us comfort in mourning and in loss. We want to still talk to our loved ones, to be with them, to keep them close to us. We want to believe they're still with us. We say, Tei nishmato tzura b'tzorech hayim, that our loved one's soul is bound up in the bond of our lives, that they are very much bound up in our lives. We want to hear their voices. We want to hold them tight, to laugh at their jokes, even when they're not funny, to smell their perfume. We want to hold their hands in the way that ours so perfectly fit into theirs. We want to ask their advice and seek their counsel. We need them to listen to us when we need to vent or to tell us it's going to be okay after a long cry. We need to know that those who have had such an impact on our lives, those who shaped our lives, are still in our lives. Because if not, without them, our lives feel broken and incomplete. Without them in our lives, the gaping hole in our hearts is unbearable. So even as Rabbi Lewis joked at the end of his life about what happens when we die, we don't know the answer. And even as Peter Jacobowitz wanted to look at video footage to see what happened, we don't need visual evidence because we know. We know what we need to know, what we need to believe to keep our loved ones close to us. We know that they are still here, still with us, their souls in this space. We know that they watch over us at night and give us signs to look for during the day. We know that they're with us. For that is the power of memory. Memory keeps our loved ones alive. Memory allows us to hang on to their smile, to feel their touch. Memory reminds us of the smell of their hair when we would hold them close to us ever so tightly. Memory is why we walk in their footsteps and continue to be guided by them. Memory is what keeps them close. Memory is what keeps their soul bound up in the bond of our lives. Memory is what keeps them alive in our lives. It may only be for a moment. It may only be when we close our eyes and let our minds wander. But memory is how we know what we believe is true. That our loved ones are still a part of us and remain a part of our lives. By remembering them, we still see them every day and talk to them every night. So I invite you to close your eyes for a moment. Remember your loved ones who have left this world and who have left our lives far too soon. To focus on their faces, their smiles, their laughter. Talk to them. And listen to them. Remember them. And remember that they are here. Here, not just in this space, not just in this room, not just at this service, but here in this world, here in our lives. For as long as we remember them and we keep them alive, by remembering them, we know that they're still with us. So to answer Rabbi Lewis's question, we know what happens when we die. We stay with those whose lives we've touched. We remain connected to them. We remain alive in their minds and in their memories. As Rabbi Naomi Levy beautifully writes, I used to think you left me. I know better now. You come to me. Sometimes in fleeting moments, I feel your presence close by. Your life has ended, but the light can never be extinguished. It continues to shine upon me, even on the darkest nights, and it illuminates my way. May the light of our loved ones continue to shine bright in our lives. And may their memories always be for a blessing. Amen.